All right, Metal Summoners, how's everyone doing this evening? It is so great to see you guys. Thank you, as always, for supporting the show and, more importantly, supporting the guests that we get to talk to and have such amazing conversations with. This is your Island of Misfit Toys. It's myself, it's Angel, it's our beloved Psycho Steve, and as always, we really appreciate you guys kicking off your weekend right in the middle of the week here on Wednesdays on Metal Summit Day, and we're looking forward to continuing with all the great conversations that we're going to dive right into right now. There's solo music to talk about, amazing musical history, and we're going to jump right into it, whether it be House of Lords, Giuffria, Angel, not that Angel, but this Angel, Gregg Giuffria, joining us right now. First and foremost, Gregg, thank you so much for giving us some time this evening, and welcome to the Metal Summit.
Thank you so much. It's great. Thanks.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you for sure. Talk to us a little bit what you've got going on right now, and how has 2025 been treating you so far as we actually near the conclusion of it and get ready to enter a brand new year.
Well, just first of all, this week, I'll just want to put out this on the first interview I've done. So, Ace really was a friend of mine, and God bless him, and he's gone upstairs to the big band.
Absolutely. No,
That's
100%
it.
for
I
sure.
mean, yeah, I'm sure all your fans of your station and everything appreciated Ace, because there really wouldn't be a Kiss without Ace. So
No.
being in the chemistry of it, and uh, yeah, I've known the guys since 1974, a long time. Uh, Gene and Paul and Peter and everyone, and so Gene and Paul were instrumental in Angel's career. They came into a nightclub that we were rehearsing in, and some of these stories, some people I'm sure may have heard before, but I was in Washington D.C., and I'd come up from Mississippi, and I said I was losing my mind in the different bands because I was really taking it serious. And every time I put a band together, two or three of the guys were, no, I'm gonna, quit and go and be a dentist or something. I mean, I said, God. So I wasn't serious enough people for me down there. I bounced around from bands like David and the Giants. That was strange. Tommy Aldridge played drums with them for a while, and then the drummer that came in and replaced him was Keith Thibodeau. And you
Oh,
ever seen the TV show I Love Lucy, the old reruns? Well,
yeah.
he was Lucy's kid in the TV show. Keith was, and ended up moving to Mississippi. So the intertwining of band members and people, and that there's somebody that does this ancestry thing where they track one guy moving from one band to the other, and it's wild, uh, you know. So anyway, I wanted to give Ace a little hello over the airwaves.
Oh, no, absolutely, of course, for sure. And there can't be any also better segue to our beloved Psycho Steve, who we're going to kick it over and let him rock it out with you a little bit. Of course, Steve, you have an incredible history yourself with the Kiss camp, so I can imagine that this last week has been a little trying on yourself as well, there, sir.
I would have to say, yeah, I'm still processing it because, like 3 weeks ago, he was in like good spirits, good health, and then boom, you
Yeah,
know, it
I
just
just
blows my mind.
yeah, I just wish he had reached out to me. He was in Vegas not too long ago, and we were going to meet up. And I got jammed up somewhere, and I didn't get a chance to swing by and say, hello or talk to him, because when he's in town sometimes, or was recording here at Bootleggers, this guy that Ron Manakuska has a studio here. And um, Ace did one of his records there, just down the street kind of from me, and I didn't go. I wish I would have. I wish I would
And he likes to gamble, so you guys are in good company there too.
have. Yeah.
You gamble?
No, no, I wrote
Huh.
some of the mathematics for the gaming.
Yeah.
It's and the slot machines, and I had a company that built them and designed them, and this town wasn't built on people winning, so
Nice. You won.
yeah, yeah. It was when I left music when I bounce around when I tell stories and stuff.
That's
So
all good.
if I go down the wrong path, just stop me and ask a question. But when when rap and hip hop came out, I uh, I was on RCA, and uh, I told Rick Dobbs, who was the president, I said, I'm going to quit. He goes, what do you mean you're quitting? I said, I'm not going to go in the studio. I'm not going to. He goes, well, you can't quit. You can't go to another label. You owe us two more records. I said, well, no, you're not understanding what I'm saying. I'm not going to play anymore right now. I'm a skinny, long-haired white boy that plays the piano, and you know, I don't, I'm not. I've been doing this for too long. I'm burnt out, and I'm just going to take a break for a while. And so he didn't believe me, and I went. I think it was Fox Entertainment or somebody. I said I'm cutting my hair, so they filmed it and did all this hoopla. I went back to RCA for some paperwork and stuff, and he ran into me in the hallway, and he said, "Sir, can I help you?" And I said, "It's me, Gregg." Didn't recognize me. He goes, "Oh my God, I've never stood next to somebody while they were having a nervous breakdown." I said, "I'm not. I'm fine. I'm just taking a break for a while." And then I ran Lee Iacocca from Chrysler. He had left Chrysler, and a
Right.
guy named Alan Paulson who had a jet company called Gulfstream. And so they asked me to run their company, and so I ran their company for 5 years.
Wow.
Crazy. Isn't that weird? That's a
It
weird
is weird.
transition. Strange transition.
And we're what Chrysler's at now.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Lee did he was the first guy to borrow $1 billion and pay it back to the government. So that was pretty
Right.
good.
I read his
That was,
autobiography. It was pretty damn good.
yeah. And then that movie Ford Ferrari. Did anybody see that? Uh,
Yes.
yeah,
Awesome
that
movie.
was an interesting film. I knew they had changed a few things in the film because I knew the story. Lee told me all the stuff. We spent a lot of time together. He didn't actually go to Italy for the first meeting with Enzo Ferrari, so they kind of had him in there on the move things around a little bit. So
That's
it's
what
the
they
way
do
it
with a
is.
lot of movies.
Well, yeah, you got to
They
make
have
it.
to.
The Queen movie. Roy Thomas Baker sure didn't play a big role in the Queen Bohemian Rhapsody.
True.
You remember the scene with the engineer behind the thing? I think he
Yeah.
only said, "I think you only have 30 minutes left," or something like that in the film. But Roy Thomas Baker is a big time producer. He he deserves credit for being a big part of that.
True. So I
But
have a
anyway,
question about Angel.
uh-oh. Okay.
How did the name come about? Who came up with the name?
I had actually that stories get changed over time, and honest to God, it's like that game where you whisper in somebody's ear, and then by the time it circles around, well, tell the facts about a lot of stuff, and then whisper it into a million people's ears, and then it comes back. So everything's a little different. Um, I had the idea of it a year before we even put the band together. It was one of the names that I said, well, if we get the right band together, I want to maybe call it Angel. Single name, boom, bang. It's great. And I know that I said it first, but Punky, and plus I had a dog named Angel, and then Punky I think called his guitar Angel or something like that. So it was one of those names that was meant to be. I That's basically it just happened. I think I said it at rehearsal, and we went with it.
Cool. And same thing with House of Lords. Did you come up with that too?
Oh no, the oh great one came up with that. Gene
Got.
Simmons.
I thought so.
That's my name. I call him.
I got it.
Knower of all, seer, toothsayer. Uh,
I will see him this weekend, so I will tell him you
really?
say hi.
Tell him that Greg said hi to the oh great one. He'll
He'll
just
put his
roll his
hand out.
eyes, or
Yes,
he'll
yeah,
roll his eyes, or do something, you know.
yeah. He'll put his hand out for me to kiss his ring.
Let me tell you what. It's funny. I say all these great funny stories and neat things with Gene, but I totally respect this guy beyond. He's the real deal. He's an incredible human being. He has a work ethic like crazy. I mean, insane work ethic. And only other person I know that has a similar work ethic is a magician, David Copperfield. He works around the clock, always bettering himself. I mean, insane. And so, very similar guys, those two.
Right. So
Yeah.
I remember when he was with Claudia Schiffer.
Yeah.
That was pretty rad. How about you,
I
Angel?
think it's
Talk to you,
easier to
man.
name ones he hasn't been with.
Probably. Nice. Angel.
I wish.
Your turn, sir.
I know it's my turn.
Oh, okay.
Just want to say thank you for joining us. Um, so, definitely got to ask this question. When you start doing music, how long do you expect to be around? Because I mean, it's amazing that bands like Aerosmith is for like 50 years. So, just curious to know when you started the band Angel, you expect to still be doing music. So,
Yeah, I'm great. If somebody can hear him better than me, it broke up just a little bit. Just, just a little bit. You said I've been around too long and I should go ahead and call it quits.
no.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I heard part of the question. To say the end, the bands. I think when you're saying Aerosmith and guys out there are still, they went a long time. They 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 had their near breakups and stuff like lots of bands, but um, just to talk about my journey on it was at the end of the last record. I was more what Angel was in the first two records. That was where the first album and the second album, and songs like The Tower and Fortune and things like that were, I guess, a tad more progressive, but we weren't really like prog, but it was I felt I wanted to do something different with the keyboards than I'd ever done before. And my inspiration, believe it or not, was like Jeff Beck and the classical stuff, and obviously Keith Emerson, friend and extraordinary. Maybe the world's right now, until one comes along, last great composer with the classical ability, something so different and shocking. Um, there's a lot of people that are incredible keyboard players. There's some rock guys that all went to Juilliard or Berkeley and all that kind of stuff. And there's, but not like Emerson was. So longevity. Was that your question? Kind of talk about longevity. How long do I
Yeah.
plan to stay in it, or just how long? What happened to Angel? What was?
No, just how long you expect to
Oh,
yeah.
well, I when I left for a while, I music in 19. Let's see, it was 1981, in late 81 or early 82. And I was just kind of in a daze. We'd been touring for 6 years and out, and just I was just a little bit burnt out on that, and I ended up meeting in '83. Met my now wife, and she basically talked me into going, putting another band together or start playing again just during that year and a half because I just really kind of took a little bit of a break. We were fooling around, and I was talking to a lot of different guys, everybody from Ricky Phillips and Rudy Zarzo and this guitar player and a different singer and Fergie, a guy Dennis Fredrickson, went on to be in Toto, and just that whole scene that was evolving and moving around. And I was hanging around with Ozzy a little bit back then, and gosh, I'm so proud. I'm so glad that Sharon did what she did and let him say goodbye the way he needed to say goodbye. I thought that was the way things should be, if that makes sense. I mean, that's what should have happened. And I think it was just fantastic. And she was just a brilliant, genius person. I toured with Ozzy a little bit. We special guested and did shows with him through Europe. And boy, never underestimate Sharon. She's a whirlwind. She could. I could tell you stories that you would just say, Gregg, you are just lying through your teeth, buddy. I said, no. She was tiny and tough, a T2, unreal. It was just, I would see like 6'9" road crew and bodyguards and people just shake with terror. I love her. I think she's just great. So anyway, back to House of Lords name. Yeah. So Gene came up with two names. He said, and then the second Giuffria record, I was so disappointed in that. I was mad at my own self for having the name and making that record. But anyway, there were a couple of good songs on it, but that was just, I'll never understand how we can have a top 10 basically hit with Giuffria on the first record, and then they bring in a producer that doesn't know his head from a hole in the ground on the producing, and he just stepped into something that was over his head, and why we didn't keep it the way it was, but that's the way the big record companies were back then. My new stuff I'm doing now, it's me putting the thumb on myself and pressing myself, and not A&R guys coming into the studio. I remember Irving said, or somebody at MCA, I think it was Irving, said, for God's sakes, Gregg, be nicer to some of the A&R guys at the studio. Because I'd lock the door and not let them in, and then, ask musical questions, and they couldn't answer any of those. I said, well, what are you doing here? What are you here if you, so I was a little bit too Don Rickles with them, so. But
Love Don Rickles.
Gene said, what about Crown of Thorns? I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't care for that name. You got House of Lords. I go, yeah, that could work. And so he said, well, let's use that, and then would you change singers? And I said, do what? And he said, would you change singers? And so he goes, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do this, or I don't think we should do this unless we switch singers. And so I said, well, okay. And that was tough, because David Glenn Isley, he's a good singer. The style and the look a little bit. I think he had David Lee Roth-itis a little bit with his clothes and Roth-itis. I'll just use that term. Yeah, but anyway, he was a good singer and all of that. And then I had LSD with back then. That was lead singer disease. I would find a singer in a mud puddle, and then they would do one record, and then the next record they wanted to write everything, produce it, and so that got hectic with House of Lords. So I think I did, I don't know, 3 albums, four albums with under House of Lords. And those guys are all extraordinary musicians. You know, Ken Mary, um, great drummer. Chuck Wright, he would play in a lot of different bands, and
Still does.
yeah, I know. You just
He's doing like the ultimate jam night, like almost every week in
yeah,
LA.
yeah. And then Craig Goldie, I found him in a little club playing with somebody, and then the first record was I enjoyed it, the first Giuffria record, and then my brother. Basically, I called him Andy Johns, who was engineering the first Giuffria record. And Andy was like, wow, what a family. Glenn Johns and Andy Johns. How'd you like to have that family reunion and sitting around? And only those two guys produced or engineered some of the greatest records we have in rock.
True story.
Yeah, Andy did. Andy did
Zeppelin.
engineered Stairway to Heaven. Do you
Right.
know a story he told me one time? He had to fly back. He had to fly from London to New York with a copy, a 2-track copy of the final mix of Stairway to Heaven. Okay, and for some reason they didn't make a safety on it. There wasn't another safety in London. He gets on the plane, starts drinking Jack Daniels and what God knows what. So he's just completely wasted. Gets off, leaves the 2-track under the seat of the airplane. Gets in the cab on the way to the hotel, realizes it, turns around in a panic. Now back then they had no security at airports, so he just goes to the airport, goes behind the things. He's dumping trash cans out behind where the luggage area, and they're unloading. And he's going through trash cans, and finally sees the 2-track, and somebody poured a cup of coffee, so it said coffee poured on it. He gets it all out, wipes it off, and takes it. Now, if he hadn't have found that, he would have had to go back. They would have done a remix on that, is how I understand on what he was saying. And no matter how back then, we didn't have the sophisticated Total Recall. So he would have had to restructure that mix, put it together, and they're never the same. Mixes are never the same. They're never the same if you mix them on 2 identical consoles. You take 2 Neve consoles, 2 of the giant guys, they both sound different. You know, it's fascinating. So there's all these stories that Andy that would have, and I just love the guy. I just really, that's a shame.
True story.
Yeah.
Funny thing about Stairway to Heaven, I have an older son that was playing recorder as a little kid. He's like in 2nd or 3rd grade, and he's like, "Dad, I'm never going to meet a girl if I'm going to be playing recorder." And I'm like, "I'm going to change your mind. I'm going to blow your mind." Mind you, he's on playing his video games online with about 12 other little boys. And I'm going to say, and I said, "Stairway to Heaven." He's like, "What about it?" I said, "Jimmy Page is playing a recorder, and he got more ass than a toilet seat." Okay? And you hear my ex-wife say, "Good parenting, Steve." I said,
Yeah, good
"Better than you." And you hear 12 or 12-year-old boys like, "Jack, you're going to get more ass than a toilet seat." So, yeah.
Well,
Totally respect Andy Johns.
Sometimes I wish I would have carrying around a keyboard rig the size that I did from way
Right.
back then. Sometimes I go, why didn't I just take flute lessons and just put the flute in my back pocket and Jethro Tull it? I got to
Right.
drag this half a semi full of keyboards around. And you never know in the early days. MIDI wasn't around really yet. MIDI came into 84, 83, 84. So everything just had to work. And I must have gone through 3, 4, 5 keyboard techs that I worried about them having panic attacks and nervous breakdowns. Because you walk out there in front of 16,000 people and you put your hands out and this doesn't work and you're scrambling to, figure out what's wrong.
That's why you use a keytar.
Yeah, they're finally going to give me credit supposedly on Wikipedia and some of those places. I came up with that name, and that was, I had an art back on Edgar Winter, and a few guys. We would put just like a keyboard around our neck. There's actual, pictures of me a long time ago with just a regular, like square, like a real just keyboard, and somehow strapped on guitar things on it and wear that around just to get away, walk around a little bit. So it was funny. But yeah, I had designs of the one and the first one to use the putting in the mini Moog and the ribbon controller on the end. I used that with Angel a lot. Yeah.
Very, very cool. Jay.
Absolutely, for sure, brother. Yeah, Greg, one of the things you had talked earlier about like the disappointment when it came to like Silk and Steel and with the producer and stuff. And I was wondering if you felt that the producer was maybe the dominant factor as opposed to like, when you also have a lineup change, you had like Lonnie coming in, you had Rick coming in. Did you feel in any way that like having a different lineup change as well when it comes to like kind of a chemistry shock might have had anything to do with that record? Or did you find it was the producer not quite having all their ducks in a row as the dominant factor?
Well, I no, I actually have to blame myself on the second record. I
Okay.
really do. Okay. One of the things that one of the problems with Angel, too young, too much, too soon, got swept up into that Hollywood thing, and we were out. The managers, the agents, the producers, we were touring couple of weeks for writing, and then in the studio. So I look back on it, and sometimes I'll say, well, the producer didn't know what he was doing. If I would have brought better songs in, he couldn't have fucked it up. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I got to start with me first. So then newer guys, but they're accomplished musicians also. The guys that came in, and but you're right. There is a different chemistry situation because there's no Lanny didn't play like Craig Goldie,
Yeah.
nowhere near the same, and um, so it was a culmination of the things. Listen, this guy Pat Glasser he'd done Night Ranger. He had produced hit songs for Night Ranger. However, after getting to know Night Ranger and knowing those guys, those are really great musicians. I mean, incredible, incredible. So then when I worked with this guy, I go, well, hell, he didn't do anything to add to them. They came in prepared and did it. But I found that the guy he was just lost on console. He was just fish out of water. But it's really my fault for not guiding the guys. But with new members and all the stuff and floating around, it was just not right.
Sure. No, I definitely
So
get
it's
it.
easy to dodge and blame people, but I told Frank Domino the other day, we were talking, and I said, man, we should have paid attention to songs better and not letting the record company keep saying, oh no, chase this, or be more pop, or do radio, you
Yeah.
know. So when I got to Giuffria, I just slowed down and really paid attention to some songs a little better. I wrote Call to the Heart in 4 minutes, and it was through the tape, put it on a cassette, threw it inside out on the deal, and MCA goes, wait, we need one more ballad. We need one more like single. And I go, geez, I have a good song somewhere laying around here, and I had to go back and find it. And that was our song. That was my biggest hit on the charts for me, was Call to
Oh,
the Heart.
Call to the Heart, sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
I heard it the other day in an elevator and a dentist office, so I know
That's
that.
awesome.
you know,
I heard it at the grocery store this morning.
To answer Angel's question, you're getting older if you're laying there in the dentist office and your song comes on. Oh
When
God! And we went out on the Foreigner tour, at the height of their career, the big tour, and it was funny because I was having a nightmare on tour with Deep Purple with Richie Blackmore, that pompous ass, and and the rest of the band, the guys are really cool, and we just you know that tour, the reunion tour, and a lot of people don't know this. It was the first pre-sold out 80 shows sponsored by Coca-Cola, sponsored by a major sponsor. First one ever done
Oh wow.
like that. And it was, and after the first night, Richie was telling Craig Goldie and myself, no, you can't do all the guitar solos, no guitar solo by himself. Cut your set down from 50 minutes to 25 or something. And I thought we were at a pot farm or something where they're growing red lights are on the plants. We only had one or two red lights on us, and so in a big stadium with just red lights on it, you can't. It was brutal.
Yeah.
So I called my management, who was, let's just say, Irving Azoff and the management company are extremely influential people, and basically, after that phone call, everything kind of got straightened out. So
Nice. That's awesome.
but Mick Jones and Lou Graham came to like toward the end of the tour, right, the very end, and they said, "Well, Greg, we're going out. We want you to special guest on this tour." And I go, "Okay." And we were talking. They got up to leave, and I was leaving. I said, "We're going now, right?"
Yeah.
I was still out on the Deep Purple tour. So I remember telling Mick and Lou, I walked in one time and I just goes, "Fuck you guys. Seriously." He goes, "What? What?" I said, "I have one kind of hit song that I'm trying to place in the set to, be really good. And you guys are playing 14 songs and they're all number one." And, it was all big hit radio stuff.
Yeah.
But,
When
but
when you when you're like going back and you're talking about like when it comes to like the record labels like putting their hands in the cookie jar and all that kind of stuff from your personal experience, like what did you find was like some of the toughest things to deal with from a record label as opposed to now? I mean, now it's a completely different time with like
yeah.
social medias and the ability to put music out on so many different platforms in so many different ways that weren't a thing back then. But what did you find yourself to just be the most difficult thing when it came to dealing with record labels?
The controlling aspect, and then the how you adapt to that, and you get angry at yourself for even allowing it to happen, but you have no control. So it's a weird. The first contract you sign, and you hear this from all the guys probably when you're. We were there in Hollywood in the glory days. It was just like the golden era. Rock bands and rock music was king. Every actor in town wanted to just hang out. They all wanted to be in a band. I mean, everybody. You look back on some of the guys, whether it's Johnny Depp or Kevin Costner or this guy and that guy, they all secretly either played guitar or did music was a big deal, and it was a very, very incredible situation there. And at that time we were in. I mean, the first time I walked into the Rainbow Bar and Grill, Keith Moon was mooning the place, literally. He was standing up on the lounge thing, and I walked in and saw a bare ass sticking there, and I went, Jesus. And
Wow.
it was hilarious. I mean, it was a crazy place, just absolutely crazy. Funny thing happened to me. If I have time for a story.
Oh yeah.
Please.
So I'm, when first album comes out, and we got the billboard, it's on Sunset, and the limos riding around, and well, oh man, you think in your head, oh man, I'm it. I'm the, geez, this is it. And so I get out of the limo on the street part and have to walk the alleyway part to the side entrance of the Rainbow. You guys probably everybody's been there or stopped by it. Have you? Yeah.
Yep. 100%.
So crowded, packed. Girls are all over the limo going, and then they got autograph things. and I'm walking toward, and a girl hands me up the pad with the pen, and I'm starting to sign. I'm getting ready to sign my name, and in the corner of my eye, I look over, two, three people over, and there's Ringo Starr and Harry Nielsen. Okay,
Oh, wow.
and I'm sitting there, and I have a pad and a pen, and I'm going, huh. All of a sudden, the food chain, I went, I'll just have Ringo and Harry sign this while I got the pad and the pen. And then I remembered Ringo didn't sign, wasn't signing autographs at that time or something. There was some kind
Still
of,
isn't.
he doesn't, and
Nope.
it doesn't sign. And so I went, oh, he didn't sign. And the girls are pushing back like this, and I sign it, and I go in. I sit at my booth. I had a little, I'm big shotting it, you know. Okay, move over. You know, it's Greg's sitting here, and the Mario comes over and says, "Hey, Gregg, uh, Ringo and Harry want you to come up stairs and come." And Harry Nielsen goes, "We saw what happened." I said, "What?" Yeah, I was trying to, now I'm downplaying it. I said, "Well, it was worth a shot." And we started laughing. I ended up hanging out the whole night with him. So that was kind
Awesome.
but it was a moment where you just go, "Are you kidding me? I'm just an arm's distance from one of the Beatles." We all were affected by him, whether people want to say it or not. I saw an interview with Jay-Z or Dr. Dre or one of the guys, and they said, "Who were your influences?" He says, "Well, the Beatles." And the guy interviewing was stunned. And I said, "Well, that doesn't surprise me at all, you know." Even though I wasn't into the hip hop rap scene when it started, but like any genre that's given a voice, talent's going to rise to the top. Their particular, you know, style, whether it's Drake and some of those guys, and but I wasn't into my drive-by shooting ability was no good, so I would have never made it. So I had to hold the gun sideways, but but um, but yeah. So all those different genres. It seemed like I was a little ahead sometimes, and a little behind sometimes of where they were cycling out. Somebody said, "Well, if you'd have been around when MTV started, if Angel would have done well with MTV because of the magic acts and the illusions, and you know, Punky is." Punky is a force of nature with just his own self, and he and I together we just really hit it off great. He's a great guy. I made a joke one time. Punky's like when he was he came down to Mississippi, and we were talking about trying to form something before we put Angel together. Punky in Mississippi, in Biloxi, in a club, was like a 747 landing at a dirt strip runway next to the plantation, or something. I mean, he's a disruptive, you go, what? Because that was, and he's such a nice guy, too. He's a good guy.
Absolutely. Were you did you see the Beatles on Ed Sullivan?
Yeah. Yes.
Nice.
Yes, I did. And matter of fact, when I heard the Beatles, I played piano since I was 4 years old. So when I got a little older, I want to say, well, I was taking classical lessons. I stopped sight reading when I was 9 years old, and then when I was 11, I stopped playing other people's stuff. I just was fooling around with my own things, and then I joined a band when I was like 12. It had to be 12 or top of my year. I was going to turn 13. Walking home, 2 blocks down at a little house, I heard music and drums and everything. I knocked on the door and I went in, and they were learning a song. I don't know, Willy Bully or just some songs, taking the turntable and putting the needle down and trying to get the chords. I said, "What are you guys doing?" He goes, "Well, we're learning this song." I go, "Here, play this." And I said, "Okay." And they had a little organ thing there, like a family would have on a odd organ, and I said, "Here's the chords," and I played it, and the guy goes, "How did you do that?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. I just, it sounded like that's what the chords are going to be." And they said, "Do you want to join the band?" So that was the first band I was in. And it had to be around, I think, the Telstar satellite that went up, in the old 63, I think it was, 62 or 63. And they named the band Telstars. So that's how it kind of got started. And then when I heard the Beatles, I said, nope, I'm doing this. This is it. Look at that. This is what I want. So,
That's awesome, man, for sure. Steve, let's kick it back to you, my friend.
So, as Angel is dissolved, and then your solo project, and then House of Lords, back in the day, record labels used to give advances to the band to pay for the recording, the production, everything like that. But then when you were left with some extra money, it was divvied up to the band members. So when you got your first like major advance, what did you buy?
well, see, that's odd because with Angel, all we had to say to the management was, God, I wish I had a new car. I wish I had a sports car or something. And then one would be delivered to the house. I mean, I remember saying, gosh, I want a Corvette. I remember, and I don't know, a couple of days later, there was a yellow Corvette in the driveway and stuff. So they were really taking care of stuff all the time. And then, I don't know, it just seemed to have money, but I didn't, toward the end of Angel, I think the first thing that I really enjoyed buying, I bought a Ferrari, 1974 Dino 246 GTS. Sold
You still
it,
have
I
it?
don't know, sold it in the 80s, and they go for about $1.5 million now. And back then, I think I paid 40,000 for it or something. So, back those days.
What do you drive now?
Um, I, I got rid of some of the cars that I had. I have a Jaguar XJS convertible.
Cool.
Uh, it's the third one ever made. The third one to the end of the series of it. That's cool. And it's some miscellaneous stuff.
Okay. And what else?
And what? Oh, no, there. Oh, I went through all the rollers and all that stuff. Yeah,
Gotcha.
I backed out of those. Um, and then I've been the Hard Rock. Having Hurricane Katrina hit the hotel and casino 2 days before opening, I had 1,100 employees and 900 and something of them lost their homes. It was brutal. And then the insurance company didn't pay. It took 4 years to pay. So I had to go to New York City and borrow $245 million from a group of fellows that own their own skyscraper.
Wow.
My neighbor, I had a house down in Del Mar, California, Rancho Santa Fe area, Del Mar. And my neighbors, Bill Gates lived across the street down to the left, like 100 or so yards. And then this other neighbor, he was a hedge fund guy or a venture capitalist. And I happened to see on a news thing that his company had $5 billion cash on hand. So I said, Larry, I got to talk to you. I said, I'm in trouble with this casino deal. Hurricane hit it. I said, I got to have $32 million by Friday, and then I need to get the rest of the package put together. And he said, get me all the paperwork. It was like on a weekend that I told him that. So I got him all the documents, a big stack of it, and he got the 32 million to us by Friday, and took over the deal. But that was like jumping from the frying pan into the fire, because never, ever go to New York City and borrow $245 million from a group of guys that own their own skyscraper. You are not going to come out of this deal well. I had we had these attorneys that I thought was smart, and after they just, I don't know, life. And then let's see, that was '07 that happened, and what Obama comes in '08, the economy goes down like the crushing recession took place in '09 and '10,
Right.
and um, it was just difficult. It was a really hard time dealing with that. A heartbreak for me because I lost a ton of money. But anyway, you can
Wow.
make more, get it again, and that year was really crazy for me.
Right.
Um, and that happened in '05 when the hurricane hit August 29th. That year, my mother and father died. My dog that I had for a long time passed away. The doctors said that I had leukemia and I had less than 90 days to live. And I'm going, okay, is this like that movie Forrest Gump,
Yeah.
Captain Dan? Is this all you got?
Holy shit.
And the doctors, um, that was in 2005, and my attorney and friends, the attorney, matter of fact, he was Jake, he was Johnny Depp's attorney, and gosh, I think Brad Pitt, Matt Damon, Arnold, Sylvester, you name it, big time Hollywood attorney. I told him, I said, I'm going to die. I've got leukemia, and they're telling me, and he goes, hold it. He goes, my brother just got appointed head of the big hospital in Portland, Oregon, up in the Oregon Science and Health, and it's like a city up on top of this mountain in Portland. And he said, they'll roll out the red carpet before you get there. They've got a guy that might get the Nobel Prize for this new drug for leukemia. Immediately got on the plane, flew up there, and they literally did roll out some red carpet for me. It was hilarious at the hospital. Nobody does. But, you know, my Jewish attorney in Beverly Hills pulled through for me. And matter of fact, just a side note when about me saying he's Jewish, I moved from Mississippi to a town that was like a Jewish settlement. Everybody in my life was Jewish. Everybody. My producers, my managers. Yeah, no. Photographers, managers, agents, attorneys, everybody. It was wonderful. I was in a group of people that were totally into the music and film, and it was magical. And so they, plus it's good having a Jewish doctor and everything, so everything was just, that worked out great. I would even go to temple. I went to temple one time, and the rabbi said to me, he goes, Greg, what'd you think of the service? And I said, I thought it was great. I said, except you kept leaving Jesus' name out. And so he puts me in a headlock and is giving me, you know, and honest to God, I think some of the smartest people I've ever talked to or met would never go to see a psychiatrist or a therapist. I would go see a rabbi and just make this. These guys deal with stuff, and they're just incredible human beings. And
See, that's why Greg, that's why Angel and Jake keep me around. See?
yeah, oh, you're Jewish?
I'm a member of
Yeah.
the come on, the hook don't lie.
Hey, well, I almost can. I mean, one of the other rabbis here said, "Well, there's not much to change on you, Greg. You could go ahead and fit in." Oh God.
Wow.
The way we were all at the record plant and A&M, the record plant at the heyday, Rod Stewart would be in the next room, and the Stones and Mick Jagger would be there, and it was just 4 or 5 studios, and everybody was always mingling around in the game room, and it was hilarious. I mean, absolutely hilarious. And
That's awesome.
and Mick Jagger was like, he was one of the first guys I met. Well, no, another guy responsible for Angel in a way was David Bowie. David had told me, he saw me play before I put Angel together, and he said, if you ever put a band together, a group that you really like, he goes, call this number in London. So I called, and I told the guy who answered the phone, I said, David Bowie told me to call this number, and if I put a band together to call that I liked. And he goes, hold on. And he transferred me to the guy and his manager, and then he helped get the management company together. And Gene got us the record deal. He called Neil Bogart in the middle of the night,
Wow.
you know. And so, um, anyway, I forgot where I was going with the story. I was talking about another guy that was involved with us. But anyway, I go to the hospital there. The doctor comes out after doing the test. He goes, I got bad news and good news. I go, give me the bad news. He goes, you've got leukemia. I said, what's the good news? He said, the leukemia, it can be reconstructed in proteins like in a mathematical equation. You can analyze them or look at them as an equation. And he said, your type of leukemia matches this new drug that we have. And he said, we're going to put you on it. So tonight when I go to sleep, I will take this pill, 400 milligrams, and I've been taking it since 2005, called Gleevec, and it saved my life. If I stop taking it, I'm probably dead in 6 months. How about that? True
Holy
story.
shit.
Crazy. But I tell you what, when someone tells you that the doctor here in Las Vegas that found it really is, he looked like worse shape than I was coming out to tell me. His hands were shaking, his face was pale, and all he could say to me was, you need to get your affairs in order. He kept saying that, repeating it over and over. And I had to, it was like a movie. I was going to slap him upside the head and say something else besides that. Crazy. So, and then the COVID thing came along. That was brilliant that they shut everything down, but it did make me walk back over to the keyboards, and I played a tiny bit. To my shock, I was playing better than I did in the House of Lords days, and I'm going, Jesus, how bad was I back then? How can I be playing better now? So that was fascinating to me. And then I started writing, and I remember putting the idea together, and I said I got to put a band together and stuff. So I asked Ken Mary, I think first. I said, "You want to play some drums?" He says, "Yeah." And I called Chuck and Craig Goldie, but Chuck was like, "Oh, send me some songs and let me see if it's something I want to do." And I think I said, what were the 2 words I used? Oh, fuck off. I think that's what it was. And so I didn't talk to him again. And then Craig Goldie he was busy with something, or not something, it just was, personal life was upside down. And he's got it together now. He's doing okay. And then I needed a singer. And I thought, God, man, that guy that's in the drummer in Journey is really good. He's, this guy Dean Castronova.
Yeah.
And I'm going, but I don't think I know him. I didn't have his phone number with me. When I say I know somebody, I can call them and, make them get on the speaker and verify. Yeah, I know Gregg. And then I hang up. And so and then I realized that I think they were open for us a couple of. He was in the Babies, and then he was or did some other things, or Bad English, I think it was. I don't know if you're familiar with Dean, real familiar with him, but
Yeah.
extraordinary talent. So I called him up and
his son
said, Dean,
Kyle's an amazing drummer.
what's that?
His son Kyle's an amazing drummer too. He used to be in a band. He used to be in a band I'm very fond of called Wednesday 13. But Kyle's an amazing drummer.
And for him to sing the way he does and play the drums,
Yeah.
that's an anomaly. That's a creature. That's another creature from another planet. It's like Don Henley when, put anybody to try to sing Hotel California in the first place, to sink it into the track and articulate it perfectly. Now make them play drums while they're doing that.
Yeah.
And Dean can do the whole Journey set. playing drums and sing all the songs. When Wing Ding from wherever he's from, Philippines or something. So if he can't do all the songs, then Dean can do them. So
I think he sings better than Arnold.
what's that?
I think he sings better than the Filipino guy too.
Yeah, he does. Well, Dean knows he knows all 26 letters. Never mind. I got to strike that. I'm just kidding. I'm being a smart ass.
Wow.
Oh, no.
I'm kidding. I'd say that to Arnell's face. So,
Oh, yeah.
his alphabet has 25 in there. And so I call up Dean and I say, Dean, this is Gregg Giuffria. And I'm kind of putting a project together. And I have not overnight become a great singer. And I was thinking, he goes, stop. He goes, first of all, I've had your posters on my wall. I know every song. I know everything. He goes, I'm in. He goes, let me just talk to Neil and Jonathan. And so, he calls me back a day or so later. He goes, I'm in. He goes, those guys like you. I said, no, don't spread that around. And no, those guys are great. I mean, Jonathan Cain and Neil Schoen, Jesus, they're phenomenal musicians. Phenomenal.
True.
And they wrote Don't Stop Believing. No matter whether you like the song or not like the song, makes you feel good when you hear it.
True. There's other songs I like better though.
Yeah, huh? What?
There's other songs by Journey I like better though.
Oh, yeah. No. They are.
But Jonathan's out of the band now again.
No, at the end of the tour.
Oh,
okay.
yeah, at the end.
Right. He's
At
going to
the
do more
end,
of
I
his
think that's what
faith-based music, I think he's going to do.
What's that?
I think he's doing more faith-based music after
Yeah.
this.
He's married. His wife is, she's very religious.
Right.
I think she was very kind when she first met me, and she knew what I was dealing with some stuff. I have 11 heart stents also now.
Jesus Christ.
So
You're like the bionic man.
yeah, I know. I looked at that. I got that Guinness Book of Records. I was thumbing through it, looking for my name on the heart stents, But now I feel great. And this new music that I'm doing, I'm so excited about it.
So what is it called?
I'm gonna do something really original. Probably Giuffria. No, the band. Yeah, it's just gonna be me. It's either Gregg Giuffria, because all these guys are doing different things, and I'm using different people, or they don't have a problem with it just being Giuffria, and they're in the band when they're in the band, and when they're not in it. You know what I mean?
Could we expect a tour?
I do expect to play live though somewhere here in Vegas. I might. The issue with me is, I don't play keyboards. I don't go through the little monitors like these guys do now. You know what I mean? I'm used to a wall of sound, and I expect the keyboard to sound big, gigantic. And there might be a room for a guitar sound in there, but it's big sounding. So when you saw Emerson, Lake and Palmer, obviously they didn't really have a guitar player, but sometimes. That's why I had the big Moog synthesizer, because no guitar rig, no number of 50 Marshalls are going to squeeze out the sound of the Moog synthesizer. So it's big, and so I want to control the sound. And so I want to go into a theater where I can control I think it would be a neat show here, with experience, not some kind of Legends of Rock or what all these different things that they have, these touring shows. And it's all great. The guys get to go out and work and play. It's not fantasy camp where you go there and a bunch of guys just play. Thinking about guys that did the record, or, do in a theater, maybe 500, 700 seats or something, to see how it goes, but playing some really neat stuff. And the guys I have could always do a song from their bands that they have. It would be interesting. It would be fun. with those type musicians. So
Well, because,
that Bob Ezrin told me that. Bob goes, he goes, Greg, you know, I said, I know I'm a dinosaur stepping back in, but one thing is, treat me like a caveman frozen in ice, and you've just thawed me out, and I think it's 1980. And so I'm going to be writing stuff that I think is, you know, that's when it, I left there at the end of the 80s with House of Lords. So I'm a creature of this is what I remember doing, and this is what I'm doing. So I sat down, the first couple of songs I've written, uh, they were advanced stuff that what maybe House of Lords or The Tower or those things, but progressed musically. And then I'm using hybrid synthesizers. I'm using hybrid electronics and London Philharmonic blended with the synthesizers, movie scores interlaced into rock music. But that's the only way I can describe it. Is it's interlaced in. So when Dean started singing, I mean, Dean is unreal. He came here, I flew to Vegas, and we did some of the songs here. Todd Fisher, do you know you ever heard that name before?
yes.
Todd is Carrie Fisher's brother, you know,
Right.
Princess Leia. And his mom was Debbie Reynolds, so a long
Right.
history, Hollywood icon. I've known him forever, and he had a movie studios and stuff in California, and California was going crazy. You know, the political situation and taxing people, and they're driving out people. California is one of the most beautiful states on planet Earth, and the politics there is just it's destroying it, literally destroying the film industry and the studios and everything. But anyway, so he moves here, and we build a recording studio here, but mostly for him and myself. And it's designed for scoring films and you know doing music and post-production work. And so that's kind of cool. And so Dean comes out and he's out in front of the studio and he's been on the anyway it's very humid in Salem, Oregon where he lives, and he's coughing. It's dry here. You can hardly. Oh wait, let me smoke a cigarette first. Smokes a cigarette, and I said, Jesus. I told Todd. I said he's going to die before he even sings the songs. He's coughing. He goes in, gets in front of the mic, and hits high notes up in the third register and singing. I'm going, what happened when you walked 50 feet and you changed into this other person? And his voice was perfect. I mean, just great singer. Absolutely a great singer. So he's singing almost on everything. I think there's one song, it looks like I'm going to use this Italian guy, Macala Lupi is his name. He has perfect pitch. It's weird. He was out with Whitesnake for a while as keyboards and background vocals, but I think he's going to sing one of the songs that
Cool.
Dean wanted that I could have a couple of guest speakers, and so that's kind of what that's happening.
And the Fretless Monster.
Did anybody call in with any questions, or is it just quiet tonight?
No, there's
Huh?
questions.
Yep. Yeah, Angel was our next segment, so we can jump to him now.
What's your favorite song from Desmond Child?
Oh, I guess when I say favorite song, it's the one that did whatever the best for Kiss. I always look at third-party songwriters like that, but Paul seemed to work with him a lot. You know,
Yep.
when I'm trying to think of the other song, when Gene described that song, I was made for loving you, and they got to do the little background things, and he whines about that. That's funny. I think Desmond wrote that or was co-writer, wasn't he?
Yeah, he
Yes.
was. That's the
Yeah.
first song they wrote together.
But see, and I don't know all the ones off the top of my head. I know he wrote a bunch of
Heaven's
stuff.
on Fire. They
Huh?
wrote that together.
Which one?
Heaven's on Fire.
Yeah, yeah. He didn't write anything on the first record, though. Did it? First Kiss, second.
No.
Nope.
All I
Well,
know is that when I heard Kiss the first time, and Deuce and Black Diamond, and when they started, I saw them in a smaller room with explosions, everything. I just went, holy fuck all. This is like, you know. And it, Gene, I thought I was tall with the angel, in the angel shoes, and he was towering, back then. It was funny. It was just like, wow. Somebody gave me some really grief saying, "Oh, where are you supposed to be, Mister Classical trained or Mister, really cool, good keyboard player? How could you like Kiss?" I go pretty easy. I mean, I do. I like Kiss, AC/DC. You know, I liked ABBA. I Peter Townsend and AC/DC both did two different interviews and asked him what's your favorite kind of pop song or favorite song, and Pete Townsend goes, well, Dancing Queen, probably the best song ever written for the pop music. So you can have a varied taste and do other stuff. It's just simple as that. And then I played keyboards more like a rhythm guitar player on some of the stuff. I think I was, because being able to kind of get a heavy organ grind sound and then go ahead and play a different instrument right-handed. When I was younger, playing in the French Quarter, New Orleans, my parents had to sign a letter to the sheriff. I was 15, 16 years old to be playing from 12 o'clock at midnight to 4 in the morning in a bar on Bourbon Street. And some nights I would kick bass with my left foot on the Hammond, playing the Hammond and then an electric piano on the right hand. So, I made more money than I couldn't even believe it. They paid so great. And at the rehearsals with this band, when I got the job, they were going, "You have your own Hammond B3?" And I go, "Yeah." And then you play the electric piano, you can kick the bass too? And I go, "Yeah." They go, "You're in." I said, "Is this a month? I get this much a month?" They go, "No, this is a week." I didn't like jump around and flip around and laugh. So we did the rehearsal, and there's a female singer. The first night we're playing, we're on the second set or so. It's getting late, smoke-filled room, and a shirt lands on top of my head. It was a stripper singer. By the time she gets finished, we're into the sun. I'm young. I'm like 15 years old. I'm going. So I found out I could kick bass, play Hammond on left and electric piano, and stare at the tassel thing all at the same time. So it was pretty good. True story. No one told me. She's not going to take her clothes off at rehearsal. And nobody bothered to tell me that, oh, by the end of the set, she's not going to have much on.
No
But
warning.
that's Bourbon Street in the 60s.
Oh,
Anyway, I hope I'm not talking too long about sideways stories. But
Oh, no, not at all, Greg. Zuna Island Girl is watching us on YouTube, and she wanted to say hello to you and thank you for your music.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for
Right
saying
back up
hello.
to you, Angel.
And you know what? I love storytelling. I mean, we never get enough about the stories of your career behind the songs. We love hearing all that sort of stuff because we grew up in an era where we read books. We didn't have, I don't know, like the social characters and that stuff.
Right. And say I lost you on the last part of your sentence.
No, I said that we grew up in, like how people just 350 characters. We grew up in an era where we did storytelling, books, all that.
Oh yeah, and I just loved, and I tried to, I the guys, I did this interview for New York Times. They wrote a piece about me when I was in the gaming and doing this stuff because I've been involved with AI since 2003, and early on in that involving the gaming industry, and I put the first neural nets into casinos into Vegas for a couple of games. And so the the writer doing the interview said, "Man, you got to do a book." He just heard some of the stories, and I said, "God, I got to tell these stories." Matter of fact, I want to jump in and tell an Ace Frehley story. So Angel and Kiss were in Detroit at the same time. Now I know that we were playing, but for some reason Kiss was in town. I don't know if they were doing some record store thing or they were doing some whatever. We were both at the Pontchartrain Hotel right across from Cobo Arena. And Ace calls me and he goes, "Hey, Gregg," because Ace talked like Curly did, when he was high voice back then. He goes, "Let's go get something to eat," and I go, "Okay." So we leave. We walk out of the porte cochere of the Pontchartrain, and we're halfway to where we're going to get a cab and go to a restaurant, and a guy pulls up in like a 1977 brand new, right off the showroom floor Cadillac coupe. I mean, spectacular looking. He pulls out, gets out, and Ace, I think, had a cap or something on, and we're just incognito going there. And this guy throws his set of keys as hard as he could, hits Ace in the stomach, and he grabs him, and he goes, "Park the car, kid."
Oh, he thought he was that way.
And then it walked by. So Ace has the keys in his hands, and I look at him and I went, "No, no." He goes, "Yeah." I said, "No." "Yeah." So we get in, take the car out. Ace hit every curb, median, maybe car between here and the restaurant and back. And then we park it down about 200 feet away from where the entrance is and open the doors and get out and lean against, you lean against the door and kind of shut it without slamming it. Just put your body weight against it. And then weaseled around and went through another entrance of the hotel. I bet you that guy was slinging ballet people around by the feet. We didn't even have to communicate. I just said no, and he goes, "Yeah." God, oh my God, just the stuff.
Oh,
Stuff.
absolutely.
And then when he showed me, he had this anvil case. When you open the case up, it would pour the drink. And did you ever hear that story about
No,
his
we want
where he kept the booze and the stuff? And you know how you can put hinges on stuff and do everything, so when you open it up, it's like animatronics or whatever. He had some kind of thing that would pour the drink, so by the time you got to the top of the case open, your drink was ready.
Oh,
God, it was hilarious.
oh man.
Just crazy stuff.
Greg, you were talking a lot about movie soundtracks and stuff like that. So I'd love you to talk about how "Say It Ain't True" ended up on the Gotcha soundtrack.
Well, we were with MCA, Universal Pictures, so they're always looking for music, and some of those songs I did some stuff. I do some stuff under aliases, names that just make up a band name and put it on there, and those ended up. I guess that was straight from the record, but there were a few other songs that I used the name, Camouflage, I think, for a couple of movies as the artist or the record or band. Just, I don't know why I did things like that, but I tried to talk. I remember we were doing Foxes with Jodie Foster, and I said, "I don't want to be in a movie with with disco stuff in it." "Sure you do." And that would have been Casablanca Films, and then may have been Warner Brothers was involved with that movie too. And this guy from Warner Brothers goes, "Let me get this straight. This is Hollywood. Every fucking person in this town wants to be in a movie, and you're sitting in here telling me that you want to be cut out. You don't want to be in the movie." I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, say it again out loud where I can just make sure I understand what you're saying."
So I can make sure I'm hearing how crazy you sound.
Yeah. I said, well, I just didn't want the disco association. I didn't. And I'll be damn it, they didn't make us. I wrote this song, Foxes, with Giorgio Moroder, the big disco guy they, put us with. There, I technically have a disco song. I don't know if you know the song or not. 20th Century Foxes. It's on the live record and on one of the Angel albums. I forget which one.
I've definitely heard the song for sure.
If you listen to the chords, I am going to ask John Bon Jovi one day how many times did he listen to the song before he wrote his song. Dun, 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 dun. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da. What is that? Living on a Prayer or
Living on a prayer.
whatever? Yeah. Uncanny, the chords are the same.
Oh, no,
But then again,
because there's
doesn't
so
matter.
many like actors as well that have like musical roots or want to do musical roots. Like I'm a big fan of a movie called Shock 'Em Dead, and Michelangelo Badio was the stunt guitar player in that movie, but
Right.
Stephen Quadros was the acting lead in that movie, and he was the drummer in Snow with Carlos Cavazo from Quiet Riot.
Right. Oh, we pop up everywhere in those things. It was crazy. I mean, um, well, Johnny Depp wanted to be in a band and
Yep.
stuff, and became famous movie star, and then ended up playing with Coop and the vampires deals,
Yep.
and but yeah, so. So anyway, it all started like that with Dean for the new thing. Dean said he was in and say I'm going to sing on it, and then I started writing, and I took my time across. I mean, I really been working out like 36 months or whatever, but I've been taking my time. I write a whole batch of songs, and then if I really like one, and then I take that and write another little batch, and I'll take one out of that, and I've been just picking the stuff out that I like. And I'm doing 10 songs. They keep telling me you need 11 to sell. I said, no, I don't need anything. I don't need anything. Not doing this with a record company. And Tommy Thayer, he loves my neighbor, so he lives close. He goes, Greg, and we've known each other forever. And he says, just do it yourself. He goes, you can't really you're not going to be going out on tour all the time and doing this stuff. There's no money in it really, not much, unless you do film stuff or film drop-ins. And he said, just sell the record, do a great package, do vinyl and CD, and put it out yourself. And so I'm probably going to do that, most likely.
Oh, nice.
And I figured out I could sell 1/10 the amount of albums, and I would make more than I would if I did it through whatever record labels are now. But there's new hybrid things going on. BMG has a hybrid one. Warner Chappell has a hybrid. You know, my publishing, I have almost 200 songs published, and they're scattered all over with all of these very rich guys. David Geffen evidently owns a bunch of my catalogs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's sitting out on a yacht somewhere, drinking a martini. So
Listening to your music.
I don't know what he's very wealthy. They say he's worth $14 billion now. Alpha Publishing.
That's
I didn't
cool.
even know I needed that. I didn't when Angel signed. I didn't even know. I don't remember I mentioning publishing. We must have just signed it off on the deal. Crazy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that you hear these crazy stories all the time about like the inner lines and inner workings of like contracts.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
So I wrote a variety of songs. Some of them are 11 minutes long. Some of them are shorter. They're epic pieces, and people are either gonna friggin' just go, "Let me see how far I can sail this vinyl," you know,
yeah,
throwing it off the top floor of the Empire State Building, or they're gonna really like it. I think so. We'll see. I know
absolutely.
the guys did played great on it. They just the bass player is Tony Franklin. He's
Oh,
played the
nice.
bass. Yeah, so Tony, Paul Crook, Ken Mary, and Dean, and me on accordion. So, and then there may be a few more guests. I got a couple of surprises that I'm going to wait till when it's all done and that, and some friends that maybe want to play on a couple of tracks and stuff. So
For
I
sure.
did hear I did hear a drummer um, just recently, and evidently everybody on the planet knows about him except me. And I was actually stunned. I heard him in a small club. The club could know more than 200 people, and wooden stage, and the sound was good. And Phil Sousa was playing bass. Do you know Phil?
Yeah,
Yeah, I've known
definitely.
Phil forever. One of the nicest guys that walked the planet. And this drummer, I went, what the fuck? I've never heard this style of playing. I could Brian Tichy.
Brian Tichy. Yeah.
Jesus Christ, what and where did he come from? That
Yeah.
guy's a monster. And then I find out Gene used him on. Gene has him as his drummer for the solo band. That's
Yeah,
Gene
he
Simmons.
yeah, he does solo stuff with Gene. He was in Whitesnake for a while, and the first band that I
I did.
remember him doing that I was familiar with was the Pride and Glory band with Zach Wild from Ozzy.
See, I just wasn't. I was in another world, and I didn't really want to hear a lot of things. A long time for a while there, I just was in a. I was in another world. I was in this
Mhm.
casino patents and all this crap. This other world, the mathematics side of me, and then when COVID hit, I looked around a little bit, but I always would, even back in the day when I was in the car and stuff, I was in the studio or right all the time. So when I bought cars, the Ferrari, I got that. I had him take the radio out, and the guy goes, "What'd you just say?" I said, "I want the radio out. I don't want to put something else there." He goes, "What do you mean you want the radio out?" I said, "It's like a fisherman going fishing on his day off. I'm always in this. I just need a little time. I want to hear the engine run or something." You know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
crazy. But I was huge fans of so many groups. I was so honored. Um, in 1985, of January of '85 and February, and you look on the top 10 radio playlist, and I Call to the Heart was on the top 10 playlist things, you know.
Mhm.
Billboard had only reached 15, but in 21 big markets in the United States, we were number one. We hit number one for a while. And when you balance, I guess it's a scale, and you balance it out all across America and all the radio stations, and they come up with a number. And there, I was there. I mean, Eagles, Foreigner, Brian Adams, on and on and on. Rod Stewart, the superstars on it. And I just felt honored to have a song sitting in there in that position. Because I really never thought, Angel, my God, if you said the word, we want to put out a pop song or a single on the first, in the beginning, somebody would have, one of the road crew might have knifed the person. And, and the record company was saying, "Oh, can you just try and write a song 3.5 minutes and just, do a chorus where it's, no," and we didn't.
No, for sure. Before I kick it over to Angel fans, I do want to let you guys know that it is going to be last call for alcohol. Greg's been incredibly gracious with his time. We're going to rock out with him for a little while longer, but we don't want to eat up all of his evening. So we're going to kick it back up to Angel shortly. And it is last call for alcohol. For any final questions, comments, anything you want to ask Greg, make sure that you pop them into comments so that way Angel sees them and we'll get them asked right over for Greg. And Greg, the last thing for me in this segment before Angel takes over is talk a little bit about the unreleased demos that you put out earlier this year.
Oh, well, I did that because a couple of reasons. This guy, Doc Smiley, uh, this had a little record company. He puts out different uh, tracks with people and stuff like that, and called me and asked me, could he put this out? And I said, sure. David Glenn Isley put out an album, Lost Tapes. That was the stuff that I wrote. And I go, didn't even call me. Didn't even say, hey, Greg. Didn't even put my name on it. Didn't even say anything. He gave the appearance. He wrote everything, Lost Tapes or whatever. And so that was like 12, 13 years ago. And I was listening to some of the stuff, and I was really proud of some of those songs. Some of them made it on a House of Lords record, Pleasure Palace, Jealous Heart, um, but different singers. And we did different versions. But when I did demos, Andy Johns is with me when I do demos. So if you put, and I'm a kind of a perfectionist about things, and Andy isn't absolutely going to do it. So we're not going to end up doing a demo. No, you can't. We don't. He doesn't know how to do a quote demo when you're working with those. We're in the nice studios, and so the recordings kind of came out good for back then, but they were still demos. They weren't mastered. They weren't done right. Then I switched singers, and James Christian just came in and sang what David did, but those were different mixes and other things added on or taken off. So they were all a little bit of a Frankenstein songs. And I've never released a demo in my life, and I don't know what possessed David Glenn Isley. I don't know why. I don't know why he has three names. Oh, David Lee Roth. That's right, David Glenn Isley. So I don't know what possessed him to do that. I and not call anybody.
Right.
However, I just remastered them and did some texturing and some stuff to them, and found they're slightly different versions and stuff. And after the new technology today is mind blowing.
For sure.
Literally, Don Henley said it best, and I'll quote him: 70 to 80% of the artists today couldn't get signed back in the 70s.
Oh yeah.
We didn't have auto tune and Melodyne. We didn't have Pro Tools to move and set stuff. We didn't have pitch correctors. We couldn't move guitars around and keyboards all around anywhere we want in the song. We couldn't extract or extrapolate wrong notes and whole sections. Couldn't make stems. It was a different world. You had to sing it, you had to do it, you had to play it, and not fuck up and get it right, and try to get it right the first or second take.
Yeah.
Because that's where the magic. It starts to wear. Believe me, you try to do a record ready performance. It's a really weird sense. It's a weird. It's not a pressure, but you just get amped up a little bit to just make sure it's right, and then you don't want to sound sterile, surgical, and oh God. Now it doesn't matter. I could go and get somebody on a park bench out here on the 2 streets down and bring them in with Pro Tools and Cubase, and I'd have them singing a lead in a song and doing the backgrounds and
Oh yeah.
tapping on their coffee cup and creating samples, and all of a sudden they're out on whatever, YouTube, Spotify, or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going on that Spotify. That's controversial. But I'm
Yeah.
interested. Maybe sometime we can do this again, because I'm
Totally.
going to be talking about this AI mess that's going on with music.
Absolutely.
Because the guys that I'm working with, and one surprise guy, and Paul, Meatloaf sold 100 million records, and my surprise guy sold 120 million, and the other, Tony Franklin's been on. We've got millions of records of music that's out there that's being ingested by the AI to simulate, So what happens if I go on the AI and I punch in my name and the other players and describe the songs that I normally write, and then it produces a song that sounds like me, and it's pulling from me because AI's listening to it
Right.
and understanding it? Is that mine? Do I own it?
I don't know. It's a
No,
good
it's a
question.
big controversy going on
Yeah.
right now.
No, that's
Because
crazy.
you can be a near idiot. I mean, that you need help to just, eat. And then you can go on these AI web pages and platforms, type in a couple of words, and here out comes a song, two songs in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And
I've
they're
def-
flooding the market with it right now. And it's, it's a fascinating question. So,
yeah.
yeah. We're
No,
I'm considering uh, I'm considering doing something like that.
mhm.
Writing a song that's inspired by me, but it's not me, but I change it back to me and inspired by a change.
Yeah.
Who is it? Like who is the humanoid doing it? So it's an interesting question.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Well,
That'd be an
I
interesting
know.
name for an EP. Like, who is Greg Giuffria? And it's these AI inspired songs.
Oh, that would be a neat idea. I'm
Yeah.
gonna. I'll have to give you a big credit on there for
Nice.
that. That'd be a good contest. Who's who on it? But isn't it
Absolutely.
strange when you take some of the artists that I'm talking about and some of the
Mhm.
stuff? It's millions of records and millions of songs. I mean songs, but millions of plays of those songs. So when someone buys an album, how many times do you think the song is played or the radio played it and all that with the big groups?
Yeah.
Millions of times.
Millions. Yeah.
Yeah. And so AI is absorbing all of that stuff. You
There,
feed it. Yeah, go ahead.
oh, I was just going to say, there was a song I stumbled across a while ago that I thought was sort of like a lost, like, Linkin Park song, sung by the late
Yeah.
Chester Bennington. And
Yeah.
I got like slightly obsessed with the song because it was like this really, really beautiful song, about like, inner pain and stuff like that. A
Right.
lot of what has since come to light from Chester. And I find out it's like it completely sounds like him, everything. And I find out it's like an AI generated song. And I was like,
Of course
kind of
it's
pissed.
like him.
Yeah. And I was like, this is insane. I was like, I was looking it up. I was like typing in lyrics into like Google, like Linkin Park song, like this lyric thing, and nothing was coming
Right.
up. And then I find out it was an AI generated song that sounded exactly like Chester. And I was like,
You
what
see
the
how
fuck?
easily a knowledgeable person could be fooled like
Yeah.
yourself like that.
Oh, yeah.
And um, I I experimented around with it, punched up, described a couple of things, and just way on the fringes. And one of the things that came up, and it's in my little deal, is I punched it up with the thing, but the line the line that I kind of said similar to the line because you can put in lyrics on it, and it came back. I had a little too much crazy last night
Oh,
was the
wow.
line for the chorus. A little, I had a little too much crazy. I, I had a little too much fire. Woke up with a tattoo on my elbow. These lyrics were hilarious. They were all like funny, abstract lyrics, but it was very cleverly done. You know, it was strange, very
Oh,
strange.
absolutely, for sure. Angel, let me
Well,
kick it to you. My friend.
Where'd Steve go? Did he leave?
I'm not totally sure. Yeah, I think we
Yeah,
lost him. He might have had to have taken care of something with family, but he.
yeah,
Um,
Uh,
he's
well,
the first guy, so we appreciate
okay,
it.
well, be sure and tell him thanks, and I hope I answered or some questions. Maybe, yeah, we'll do it. Maybe do it again
yeah,
when I send you guys. I'll send you guys. I'll send you some songs ahead of time.
that'd be awesome.
Um, but they won't be mastered yet, so you can't. It's
Yeah,
really for your ears only. If you
absolutely,
know until it gets done correctly. But I would love your impression.
Yeah,
absolutely. We'd be happy to do that for you. Definitely,
I'll
Angel. Let
coordinate
me
it.
let me kick it over to you, Angel, to see if we got any final questions to clear the board before we let Greg enjoy his evening.
Okay.
and this is a tough question. Ooh. If you wanted to be known for one song, what would it be? What,
Wow, that's the Tower or the Fortune for what I've got that's been released. And I'm proud of Call to the Heart, but that that's more in pop radio or popular stuff. But I think the Tower was kind of a magical song. Yep. Oh wait, I lost him. Angel, say it. You went out.
Jay, can you hear me?
Go. Yeah, I'm right here. Yep. That was the final one from the board.
All right, guys. It's a great meeting you,
It was
and
a pleasure, Greg. Thank you so much.
thanks, guys.
Before we let you go officially, if you could just let anybody know that wants to know where you can be found, if you have a website or a particular social that it's best to follow you at.
Those are all the special websites are being designed and worked on right now. They're not out yet, but I'm on Facebook, just on my the friends thing or whatever, and Instagram at Gregg Giuffria. So
Nice.
those, and that's about it.
Right on. Well, Greg, we can't thank you enough for spending your evening with us. It's always so important for me, for myself, Angel, and Steve to, to know that, you had a good time, enjoyed yourself, felt respected, and that you just, just like I said, enjoyed yourself. And we definitely look forward to having a future episode with you where we can really dive into this AI conversation.
I would love to. You do a little more research on it, and I
I
will
will.
too. And because I find it fascinating, I find it's going to be disruptive. I just hate for it to take up airspace of humans that are doing songs, and they flood the market with all of this stuff. It's strange, but then again, God, I said that about hip and rap, and here emerged. So I guess we're in for a new world.
Absolutely.
It
And
was
just
an honor, guys.
absolutely.
Angel, thanks.
And you have yourself a great one,
Thanks,
Greg, and we'll
buddy.
talk soon.
All right.
Absolutely. Metal Summoners, thank you guys so much. It's been an absolute pleasure as always to hang out with you guys. Make sure that you're checking out Greg on his socials and keep an eye out for all of the extended socials that he says are going to be coming out soon, so you know exactly what's going on with everything that Greg's got coming up, along with his new music, the stuff he's doing with Dean, and everything in between. Make sure that you guys are following the Metal Summit on both Facebook and YouTube. That's where the interviews are. That's where they're live, and that's where you're watching Greg right now. It's also very important, if you love what we do, to follow us on our Instagram page, because all of our guest announcements and all of our announcements and appearances come out on the Instagram page first, and then they filter down to everything else. Angel himself can be found at Angel Alamo 78 on Instagram. You can also find him on Facebook. Steve can be found at therealpsychosteve.com. You can also find him on Instagram at therealpsychosteve. And myself can be found on Instagram at salem.vampire, and I can also be found under that same moniker on Facebook as well. But y'all have yourselves an absolutely fantastic rest of your weekend. We're going to be closing out the spooky month with an incredibly fun conversation that's confirmed, and we will have the guest announcement come out over the weekend to have a little bit of fun right before Halloween. You guys all have yourselves an absolutely great rest of your evening, a great rest of your week. Be good to each other, keep listening to music, and make sure that you're getting out there supporting live bands and also supporting great people like Gregg with all of the music that he's doing. We'll see you real soon. You guys take care. We'll see you in a week. Be good to each other. Take care. As always, you've been watching the Metal Summit.